And now it's time for the Impact Wrestling Report. Here's your host, Mathew Shaffer.
I was able to crawl my way out of a laundry hamper to give you this Impact Wrestling Slammiversary Report. Now you can catch me in all my Impact reviews each and every week on the Impact Wrestling Report at One Wrestling YouTube. Of course, you can also catch Michael Jargo's NXT review, Big Ray and Mr. Rick Vickery himself with the Raw and SmackDown review, and of course Mr. Big Ray and Ben Hameen, Ya Allah, each and every week on the Impact Attack. But without further ado, let's get you all caught up on the Impact Slammiversary 16th edition. Not 16th anniversary, but the 16th version of Impact. Now, Impact started off with a 4-way match, and of course, it was between Johnny Impact, Ishimori, Phoenix, and Petey Williams. If you weren't aware, Petey Williams replaced Rich Swann after he suffered a concussion over this last weekend. Now, this match was chaotic from the start, as we saw Johnny Impact and Ishimori both get a welcome back chant from the audience. Toronto was hot, and I do want to comment on the camera angles this evening. Based on the fact on how it was set up, I thought it was pretty interesting that they chose to do some overhead shots from their hard cam view. It was kind of set up almost in a Ring of Honor fashion for Impact, which I found quite interesting, you know, because you generally get so used to, you know, even New Japan having that traditional hard cam view of the wrestling. Impact almost gave you definitely something different to keep your attention span throughout this match. Now, this match, like I said, was crazy. There was a couple high spots in it with a vicious of huge superplex powerbomb with all four competitors in the corner itself. The conclusion of the match saw all four members hitting each other's finishers on each other, with Johnny Impact defeating Ishimori with a Starship Pain and getting the victory. And that, of course, was predicted on the Impact Attack and by myself on the Impact Wrestling Report. Only made sense to see Johnny Impact come back in and gain some momentum, you know. And, of course, with Rich Swann being out of the match, that really only left one competitor to stand apart. Next match of the night, we saw Tessa Blanchard taking on ALLIE. Now, this feud stemmed, of course, from the Demon Bunny, from ALLIE. Interfering and having the back of a Madison Rayne after she was attacked by the bridesmaids, and then Tessa Blanchard interfered because she wasn't happy that Madison Rayne defeated her and was facing Su Yung. So there was a little bit of feud being built here, and of course speculated right now, of course, Braxton Sutter made his appearance down at WWE NXT Performance Center. So people have thought, or this has led to be the belief, that ALLIE may be on her way out. ALLIE may be heading down to Florida herself, so this could be her last Slammiversary appearance. Now, Tessa Blanchard and ALLIE did go back and forth in the match. Tessa Blanchard was, of course, though, the dominant participant, and with coming off of her signing a 2-year deal, one has to hope and assume that she is going to be a huge vocal point, a huge pillar in the Impact Knockouts division. In this match, Tessa Blanchard did defeat ALLIE with a hammerlock DDT. However, ALLIE did look like she had it won earlier in the match when she hit a code breaker, but at that point, Blanchard did roll outside, and of course she recovered, took control, and defeated ALLIE. Whew. Next match of the night, we saw Eddie Edwards taking on Tommy Dreamer in a House of Hardcore's rules match. I gotta tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this was barbaric. This was barbaric between two competitors. Eddie Edwards was not holding anything back against Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy Dreamer was trying to show Eddie Edwards why he was the true innovator of violence. In fact, at one point in the match, Eddie Edwards actually yelled out, "I'm the true innovator of violence," and the crowd, a member of the crowd in the audience yelled, "No, you're not." Outside of the match, we saw Eddie Edwards busted open from a kendo stick he had taken, headshot taken to the head from Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer grabbed a replica ECW title from a member of the crowd and hit Eddie Edwards with it. This led to a huge ECW chant. However, the conclusion of the match saw Tommy Dreamer light a table on fire. He had doused the table with lighter fluid, and as he went to light it and then grabbed Eddie Edwards hit him with a DDT and reversed it and pinned him, and the Crowd didn't seem too happy about the conclusion of the match. It kind of came out of nowhere, to be quite honest. I think they were also upset the fact that there was no fire. Our own Ben Hameen posted in the Hameen Media Group discussion that Acer put up for the Impact Slammiversary pay-per-view and said that the crowd was not happy with that conclusion. Now, after the match, rather than continuing this feud, it looks like this is it, because Alicia came down and she basically, of course, begs Tommy to stop all this nonsense and to shake Eddie Edwards' hand, and for Eddie Edwards to shake Tommy Dreamer's hand, and they each shake each other's hand, and that's it. The feud is over, and with Eddie Edwards picking up the victory, Tommy Dreamer gave Eddie Edwards the kendo stick, as in almost like a passing of the torch, or a passing of the bloody rag, or passing of the violence, as he is now dubbed Eddie Edwards the modern day innovator of violence. And that was the first of our singles and big matches tonight. Now we're heading into some of our championship matches, and that being the first match for the X Division Championship between Brian Cage and Matt Sydal. This match was really, I'd say, back and forth, high action with a lot of spots, both from Brian Cage and Matt Sydal. Of course, Matt Sydal being an innovator of a high flyer, being able to do other things that people can't even dream of doing. And then you've got Brian Cage, who is just physically fit. He has a great look to him, and he can move around like that X Division star. So both these guys put on a great match. However, Brian Cage came out victorious. His undefeated streak continues. He hasn't lost, hasn't been pinned, and he's your new X Division champion. And the conclusion of that match actually saw Matt Sydal go for his shooting star press. He missed and didn't land, and then Brian Cage picked him up and hit him with the drill claw for the win. Next match, we saw Su Yung take on Madison Rayne. And if you haven't seen the vignettes leading up to this match, I got to tell you, don't watch them in the middle of the night. Don't watch them by yourself, and don't watch them in the dark. Pretty freaky, pretty spooky. Go back and check it out on Impact YouTube channel. You can also listen to the Impact Attack post-show each and every week on hackerhameen.podbean.com and get a full Impact report on the Impact Wrestling Report on One Wrestling YouTube. Now, Su Yung was able to defeat Madison Rayne and retain the Knockouts title. Madison Rayne basically had to contend the whole match with the undid bridesmaids jumping up on the apron throughout the match and distracting. At one point, though, it did look like Madison Rayne was going to pick up a victory with a cross rein. However, Su Yung was able to reverse and shove her hand into Rayne's mouth for a mandible claw to pick up the victory. Short match. Both competitors seem to work, decently together. I can definitely see for this type of feud, the storylines and the videos were the highlights of it. I don't know, coming out of this match, I felt like, wow, this was a match of the night. But it definitely served its purpose, for the Impact Championship, Impact Knockouts Championship for the evening. And, I like the fact that Su Yung is still your champ. And, after the match, Su Yung then, of course, put Madison Rayne in the coffin with the undid bridesmaids. So maybe that's it for Madison Rayne. Maybe we'll see more of her. Maybe she'll go back to creative. Maybe she'll go back to being a mom and being the wife of Josh Matthews. But as of now, that's it. She gone. She gone. She leaving. All right, so we then get into LAX taking on the OGs, Hernandez and Homicide, in a 51-50 street fight. So another hardcore match, if you will. Now, this was barbaric. LAX and has a long history with Konnan. If you haven't seen the feud, the build-up, essentially, LAX was broken up because of the fact that Santana and Ortiz backed Konnan, even though, which one would do after King apparently put the hit out to take Konnan out. So Konnan went and got Homicide and Hernandez, which, of course, you can listen to that interview from last week's Impact Attack with Michael Jargo and Big Ray. LAX, however, was able to defeat Hernandez and Homicide in the match itself, and thereby being declared and retaining those Impact Tag Team Championships. However, after the match, the OGs get in the ring, and they beat down Santana, they beat down Ortiz, they beat down Konnan, they spray paint OGs on the Tag Team Championships, and they leave Impact Slammiversary taking those titles. So they're taken hostage now. LAX just takes what they want. That's kind of always been their style, especially with Hernandez and Homicide. If I would like to point out, though, pretty cool conclusion of the match. Conan throwing a bag of tacks into Ortiz, who threw them in the face of Homicide, threw them on the mat, and then slammed him into the tacks itself after he hit a splash from the top rope. So he got the victory with that, and of course, you're still your Impact Tag Team Champions, LAX. So we'll see where this goes with the Impact Tag Team Championship. We got one of the most barbaric matches of the night. That leading up to, I would say that each hardcore match each got more barbaric, and this one did not disappoint. Pentagon Jr. took on Sami Callihan Jr. Each hardcore match of the night did not disappoint, and this one being the climax. Pentagon Jr. versus Sami Callihan in a mask versus hair match. Huge violent affair. Both men took turns driving spikes into each other throughout the match. At one point, Sami tossed something in the eyes of Pentagon Jr. After Pentagon Jr. Was blinded, he then broke the attending arm in the ring, thinking it was Sami Callihan. In the end, though, Pentagon Jr. broke Sami's arm and delivered the Pentagon Driver for the win. After the match, the Chris brothers attacked Pentagon Jr. before he could try and shave Sami Callihan's head, but he super kicked both of them. Then as Sami Callihan was making his way out of the arena, Phoenix and security made their way down to ensure that Callihan got his head shaved, and thus Pentagon Jr. shaved his head, and now we've got a bald Sami Callihan. And then we've got the main event of the evening, Austin Aries taking on Moose. What was I would consider a pretty good build with some MMA-style packages with Austin Aries and Moose over the last couple weeks. However, Austin Aries is still your Impact World Heavyweight Champion. The belt collector retains. Moose was short in his attempt. I hope that he does not take the advice of Austin Aries, though, and look for a third career choice. I do believe that Moose can still be a future heavyweight champion with Impact. It just doesn't look like Impact is ready for Moose to be that guy. But, who is? Is Austin Aries going to continue to be the focal point and the focus? Or is, guys like Brian Cage, Congo Kong, Johnny Impact, Eli Drake, are they the next guys to step up and take on Austin Aries? Because unfortunately in this affair, Moose did not win his attempt for the Impact World Heavyweight Championship. And now, ladies and gentlemen, was Impact Slammiversary. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter at Mathew_Shaffer and on Instagram at Mathew_Shaffer. Continue the conversation with me at Hameen Media Group on Twitter, and of course, in the Hameen Media discussion group itself. If you'd like to hear more Impact Wrestling news and reviews, check out the Impact Wrestling Report each and every Thursday, Friday, if you will, on One Wrestling YouTube. And of course, you can listen to Michael Jargo break down the NXT review on One Wrestling itself. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. As I always say, don't you dare go too far away. Don't you dare go too far. We'll see you next week on the IWR.
Y'all.